Good evening. It's Facebook Love number 79. I almost didn't come today. It's getting a little late. Saturdays are busy. I have a couple impressions about this last couple days. The first one is that I am amazed and excited and hopeful about the number of protest marches supporting Black Lives Matter and police brutality protests. The last count I heard from a day and a half ago was more than 430 cities and villages in the United States alone have had marches. Some of them multiple marches, places like Chicago almost every day for over a week. Also, there have been marches on every continent. The only other time this has happened is the Women's March right after the inauguration of our current administration. My second thought today is I've been very conscientiously trying to formulate the best response to all of this beyond signing a lot of petitions and being present for people who need to talk about the things that have happened to them and listening and learning so that I am being the best citizen I can be. I had signs in my yard supporting our essential workers and supporting keeping social distance because it helps us all stay healthy, and I believe in that, and I believe it's loving and respectful. I got some paint out and I painted over a sign. They'd faded anyway. And I did my big, best poster style writing, which I am really good at because I've made signs since I was in 6th grade, like a good Girl Scout and a good pep assembly poster maker, etc. I made a sign that says, "White silence is violence." And this morning I put it in our yard. And before I fell asleep last night, I had a few moments of feeling very anxious about my sign because it is provocative. And also the way the letters turned out. The word white and the S of silence are very big, and then the word silence is not quite as big. And then the word violence is also very big. So when you first see it, it says white's violence. But if you really look, it says, and you don't need to be close to see that it says white silence is violence. And I was anxious about maybe being confronted by somebody, that it was inappropriate or too mean. And I was working in my garden, and a couple was walking by. A white, older middle-aged couple was walking by. And while the wife was very friendly and wanted to listen and chat, the man was very combative. He was very confrontational. A few points he was just yelling. But I don't want to get into it. His response was classic denial of any responsibility in culture for what happens to people of color, what our authorities have felt free to do to people of color ever since there have been people in this country who didn't, since the founding of this country, how about that, or even prior. I listened and tried to offer perspective, and we had a productive, well, he probably thought it was productive, conversation. I stayed very calm for maybe 15 minutes, and they went on their way, and I felt ineffective and sad, but then I took a picture of my sign and I put up a post on Facebook and asked my lovely group of diverse friends for feedback, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, and it made me think more about my sign. And I think that the reason I chose that slogan over any other available Black Lives Matter slogan is that as a white person whose family, for the most part, has been here since the very beginning of white people being here, I have a great deal of privilege. I have multiple generations of college education for men and women, military service, all the, best ingredients for an upstanding citizen. But I'm also a degreed literature major, as well as an educated educator. And one of the things that, if you're teaching literature, you talk about is, what is the essential question? And the essential question is, why does this violence continue to be acceptable? It's because we are still, for a while longer, a majority Caucasian, a majority white nation, and we have not demanded laws and cultural norms that treat everybody with respect. We are not supposed to allow vigilante justice of any kind. We are not supposed to allow anybody to be assaulted or demeaned, let alone murdered, by authorities that have the right to arrest, stop, and put somebody into the justice system, which should be fair and is not. So, that's all I have to say about that. The other thing is thinking about the strength of the Women's March, the marches that happened. Millions and millions of world citizens have marched. I have a piece that I wrote the day after the election, the last presidential election. And I haven't shared it here, and I feel it's appropriate. So my only poem today will be one of my own. Sorry, you're getting activist Christy today. Hope you don't mind. This doesn't have a title except the date. 11/9/16. I've got my feet back under me, dusted off, straightened my crown, my spine strong with metal, nearly 100 years of women marching, slogging, nettling, until our vote became right. They laughed, remember? Mocked. How silly that half the nation should push and push for participation. I see you up there, mugging, preparing, power nearly in your hands, sneering fawners pawing. We march, we shout, our bodies in motion, this numbered wave, nearly 3 million. We see you. You must see us, hear us. Make more work for horse traders and saddle makers while the auto trundled onto the scene, build outhouses and barns where pipes and wires were dug and strung. Today it's wind and solar, not coal and fracking. Will you slap us with archaic band-aids, hands over your eyes? Make jobs, inspire and educate. Would you choose to be the one who destroyed the world? We see you. We won't be silenced. Skyscrapers minus science, something lacking? Who will buy this wonderful science-denying tower? Show the logic of science, explain and train for the new wave. No battles over our femaleness, our loves, our choice. No sidelining the different, the new, the questioning. Do you see us? Will you listen? We march and shout, our bodies in motion. We see you. We won't settle for half access, half pay. We're not less than because you won. Prove it in strong words. We equal you. We are watching, waiting. We will march. We will shout. until you do. This is Facebook Love. I'll see you again.